Here are my 7 favorite business lessons I learned after spending over 500 minutes with Alex Hormozi on Zoom calls together with other school owners. Let's dive right in. So number 1 is that nobody knows you exist. Advertise more. And Hormozi went into great detail when he was launching his $100 million Leads book event. He was spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on ads, and not even just ads, on content, on marketing. He was sending emails to his newsletter. He was making Instagram reels about it. He was posting it on a story. He was running Facebook. I'm pretty sure like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ads, probably even more ads I didn't even know about. He was posting it on YouTube. He was making community posts. He posts on Twitter. Like, everybody knew that he was launching a crazy, huge book event, and it was going to be wild. Like, hundreds of thousands of people signed up and registered for the event. Like, you had other people talking about it because it was so crazy. It was wild. Yet when Hormozi walked around outside, because he's a normal being, and he walked around outside, people would come up to him because they'd recognize he's Hormozi and be like, hey man, can we take a picture? And throughout the weeks leading up to that event, every single time he'd ask them, hey man, you coming to the book launch? And almost every single person he asked that question to looked at him and said, book launch? What do you mean? He said, dude, I'm launching my new book, $100 million Leads, volume 2 of the $100 million offers. They're like, oh my goodness, what, really? He's like, yeah, you haven't seen about it? I'm like posting everything. Like, oh no. And he's like, oh, well, now you know. And the point that Hormozi made is, he wasn't trying to have a huge ego, but Hormozi is pretty fucking famous. He's got millions of followers, millions of subscribers, millions of people on his email list, and spending millions of dollars on ads to other people who don't already follow him. He was promoting the shit out of it. Yet people who knew him enough to recognize him in public still didn't even know about the thing that he was promoting that was happening in a couple weeks. And if this isn't proof that nobody knows you exist, advertise more, I don't know what will be. But the premise behind this principle is that if nobody knows you exist, you can't make money. Because fundamentally, for people to buy from you, they have to know that you exist. And so if you want to make more money, let more people know about your stuff. Because the best way to not have a business and to not make money is to let nobody know about your stuff. So here's the thing. No matter how much you think you're advertising, advertise more. Because nobody knows you exist. It's even, a matter of fact, there's a story, I think it was the Ford CEO. I think it was Ford Motors, I believe. And the CEO was sitting right beside the marketing director's office, and they had this campaign. The marketing director had this campaign on his desk for I think it was a couple weeks or a couple months. And eventually the CEO was so sick and tired of seeing this campaign on this marketing guy's in his little cubby or whatever you call it, his office. He went up to the guy and said, hey man, when are we going to stop running this campaign? I'm sick of it. The marketing guy looked up at him and was like, hey dude, we haven't even started running it yet. And the point is that we get so sick of our own advertising way before anyone else because we're the ones that hear it every single day. But the cool thing is, other people, 1, don't hear it every single day, and 2, even if they do, here's the thing, is with advertising, we want them to buy. And so we just have to keep advertising until they say fuck you and fuck off, or until they buy. And the thing is, typically speaking, people don't buy on the first round of advertising, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. And so you just have to keep letting them know that you exist. For example, right now, you may not need to buy a home, right? And maybe in a year from now, you need to buy a home. Maybe in 5 years from now, you decide to buy a home. The realtor that you first think of that comes to your mind is the person you will buy from. And that's why we just want to advertise more so that the people that can buy from us never forget about us. Okay? That's rule number 1. One of my favorite lessons. Lesson number 2 is to be willing to repeat yourself. People need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. And this one hit home for me in the coaching space, but even just on YouTube, I find myself repeating myself quite often. Even in the last example, I gave you 3 different examples to try and explain a point. And that's because one point with 100 examples will always be better than 100 points with 1 example each, because people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. As a matter of fact, you probably already know all the things you need to know to get from point A to point B, to get to where you want to go. You probably know all the information is out there with YouTube, with Google, with ChatGPT, with all this stuff. All the information is out there. We have access to most of it. It's just that most of us need to be reminded more often than we need to be taught something. As a matter of fact, I even go as far to say that most of us need to have confirmed, right? We need to be reminded of the thing we know we need to do to remember why it was important in the first place. right? Like most of you, like most people know you should brush your teeth 2 times a day and eat healthy food and not eat junk food and go to the gym and get 9 hours sleep. Yet we don't. And that's because we forget how important some of those things really can be. And so the more often we are reminded of those things, the more likely we are to do them. So you need to be reminded more than you need to be taught. So be willing to repeat yourself to people frequently. Okay? Number 3. The proof you have from happy customers is way more convincing than any promise you can make in your marketing. Get testimonials and use them often. And this is because proof will always beat promise. You see, a decent offer with great perceived likelihood of achievement will always perform better than a great offer with low perceived likelihood of achievement. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're on the street and a guy named Mark comes up to you and he's like, "Hey, what's up, dude? If you give me $1,000, I will turn that into $1 million overnight. Give me $1,000 right now, meet me back here tomorrow, and you'll become a millionaire." Let me ask you this. Are you going to give him the $1,000? Well, probably not, because you know who this fucking random guy is. Mark, who the fuck are you? This could be for a hobo for all I know, right? Like, we don't know who the fuck this guy is, and therefore we don't believe him. And even though his offer sounds really good, we won't buy. But let me flip the script. Imagine if this guy's name was Mark Cuban. Now would you do it? Well, probably, because you know Mark Cuban, you know his reputation, you know he's capable of making money. But let me actually tweak it a little bit more. Mark Cuban comes up to you. Instead of $1,000, it costs you $10,000. Instead of guaranteeing you $1 million, it's going to be $100,000. Are you going to take that deal? I would. And if you said yes too, then phenomenal. You've helped me prove my point, which is that proof will always beat promise. You see, even when we shop on Amazon, we don't even realize we do it, but we do. We look at what has the most reviews. And even if something costs a bit more money, we are more likely to pay more for something we know will work. Because you know why? When we buy something, we want to buy the thing that we want, that we know will work. Right? Which is why if you're hungry, for example, imagine there's 2 restaurants and you're hungry. And one restaurant sometimes has really, really, really amazing food and sometimes has really shit food that makes you feel terrible. And the other restaurant just always hits the spot. It's not anything special or fancy, but it's never bad. It always hits the spot. You're really hungry. Where are you going? I'd argue probably the latter, probably this restaurant. Why? Because you know it's not going to miss. And you're hungry, and you just want good food, and so you don't care, about how long it takes or how much it costs. You just want good food. You don't want to take the risk and throw it up in the air and leave it to chance that you might get bad food. You just want good food. And it's the same with anybody in any realm of human endeavor, if you will, which is that people will pay for what they want, right? And when you make them believe that they're going to get the thing that they want, they will pay more money. And the point is that you just need to have more proof about the thing you're doing so people are more likely to believe you in what you say. If you have more proof, you will make more money. So collect more testimonials, collect more case studies, and use anything, right? For example, I had a guy the other day, he's like, "Stefan, I don't have any case studies, I have nothing." I was like, "Have you worked for any clients?" He's like, yeah, like 5. I go, "Cool. Like, so why don't you have cases?" "Well, I haven't made them a bunch of money." I'm like, "Okay, but have you ran ads for them?" He's like, yeah, I've ran ads for all of them. I was like, "Cool. So like, what are the results you got in the ads?" He goes, "Dude, a guy just joined 3 days ago and we already got him like 10 leads in 3 days." I go, "Dude, that's an amazing case study," right? Case study doesn't have to be, "Hey, this guy went from 0 to $100 million because of me." A case study can just be small things like, "Hey, this guy was sad. Now we made him happy." Or "This guy didn't have leads. Now he has leads." Or "This guy was booking 1 meeting a day. We helped him book 3 meetings a day." Or "This guy was averaging, 10K in revenue. Now we help him average 10K in profit." Like, it doesn't have to be these extreme things. Case studies can just be these small things, but it's proof that what you do works. Okay? Anyways, number 4. Raising prices almost always makes you more money, but you'll hear no more often, and that's okay. And the reason why this works is that typically speaking, for most businesses, you could raise your prices probably 2, 3, sometimes even 4, 5x, and some businesses, depending on how good your offer is and how good you are at selling, there's a guy I coach named Chris, and he was charging about $500. I was like, "Hey man, we need to bump this up." And so he started charging anywhere from, depending on the offer that the person chose, anywhere from 1 to 3K. And I checked back with him 7 days later, and he had collected the last month he had made $5,000. And in the last 7 days, he had made over $7,500 in cash collected from just upping his price. And the coolest part is he told me that, "Hey man, my conversion rate actually went up on the calls. My close rate went up because people now believed him more when he said that this outcome he was going to get cost this amount of money because it sounded more believable. And the point is that that's an oddball, but a lot of you will make more money by increasing your prices, and you'll hear no more often. More people will say no, but the amount of people that take you up will make up for it if somebody says no. And you can just use math to simply just explain this and figure out what you should charge. For example, imagine you charge $500 right now, okay? And you close at, I don't know, let's just make the numbers super, super, super easy. And let's say you close at 50% at a $500 ticket. Now, let's say you double your prices to $1,000 and your conversion rate drops to, let's just say, 35%. Well, if I'm not mistaken, 35%, let's just say 33%, means you close 1 out of every 3 instead of 1 out of every 2. Okay? And so if you hop on 10 sales calls for the 50% at $500 and 10 sales calls for the 33% at $1,000, you'd close 3 clients here, $4,000 each, which should be $3K. And here you would close, if I'm not mistaken, 5 clients at $500 each, which would be $2,500. So you make less money on the front end. Revenue-wise, you already make less money. However, that's not all, because here you're servicing 5 customers. Here you're servicing 3. And so you can easily tell by just looking at this, if you're servicing 3 versus 5 customers, from a profit-wise, where do you make more profit? Well, here. And so the cool thing is you make more money here on the front end with revenue-wise, and you have less cost because you sign less customers, so you make more profit. But you heard no 7 times here and only 5 times here. And so people often want to decrease their price so they can get a higher closing rate so they can feel better about themselves when they jump on calls. As a matter of fact, I see people charge so low just think that everyone say yes so they feel good about when someone asks what the closing rate is. But here's the thing. No one cares about closing rate. People care about what the money is in your bank account. And so let me ask you this. Are you more concerned about what your closing rate is and how many times you get rejected or how much money is in your account? I like the money in the account better personally rather than the rejection, which is why I'd rather get rejected 100 times to close 1 for more than if I got rejected once and close 100 but made less, okay? So typically speaking, most of you will make more money if you increase your prices. You might decrease your close rate, but that is fine because hearing no is okay. But let the math. And as long as your close rate doesn't plummet, okay, you can typically get away with charging more money. I even did this just recently inside my mastermind. I think I 4X'd my prices. And after I 4X'd my prices, I had about triple the lead flow book into my calendar. I 4X'd my income the week after just by tripling my prices. That's all I did, or quadrupling my prices, right? And that's also because people associated my thing with more value when the price went up. They took it more seriously. They thought it'd be more likely to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? I made more profit on the back end because I made more per customer now. Crazy. Okay. So that's number 3, or that's number 4 is raising your prices. Number 5, your business is never too big for you to spend time talking directly to your customers. As a matter of fact, Jeff Bezos used to pride himself in the fact that he would answer customer support calls. Same with Sam Evans. He would pride himself in the fact that he would answer customer support calls. As a matter of fact, Sam Evans to this day still talks to his customers. As a matter of fact, I've talked with Sam Evans on school by just asking questions. And as a result, he's asked questions on things that perhaps I would like to see or other people would like to see. And this is Sam Evans we're talking about. Like Sam Evans is the guy that's business partners with Alex Hormozi, who has made multi-millions of dollars in his life. Like that Sam Evans. He still has the time to talk to his customers, even though his company's pretty big. And that's because talking to your customers is one of the most underrated things you can do, because your customers will give you some of the best information on what you should do with your product, right? Like, should you increase, decrease the price? Like, what are they looking for? What do they like about it? What don't they like about it? What new features do they want? Like, that is how you build a good business, is by talking to your customers. Because guess what? Amazon would never be as big as Amazon is if other people didn't do selling on behalf of Amazon. For example, Amazon, I believe, it's over $1 billion a day for sure. I don't know what the exact number is, but I believe it's over $1 billion a day. You couldn't even hire enough sales reps in the world to make $1 billion a day. The only way you can get to making $1 billion a day is by making your product so good that other people will talk about it for you. And guess what? It just so happens to be that when customers promote your product, it's the best type of marketing advertising ever, because it's the most authentic marketing ever. And so it also has the highest conversion rates when you look at the numbers wise. Okay. And so The point is that you will never be too big to talk to your customers. And talking to your customers will directly make you more money so you can figure out what they like, what they don't like, what they value, what they don't value, and how you can make your business better as a result of people who already bought your thing. That is how you build a good business, is by talking to the people and finding out what they like, what they don't like, etc. Number 6. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. Cinco? I don't know what the fucking language we're in. But anyways, we digress. 6. Before you chase something new, do 10 times more of what already works. And when something stops working by doing more volume, make that thing better. And then once you've made it better, go back to doing more. And this is Hormozi's 3-step philosophy he uses even when scaling companies, which is this idea of do more, do better, do new. Which is that Hormozi would rather, like his philosophy when he acquires a new business, the first thing he asks the CEO, he even said this on one of the calls, is why can't we do more of what we're already doing? Right? And for context, Hormozi works with multi-million-dollar businesses, so obviously they found out a way to make a bit of money, right? And so he asked them, why can't we do more of what we're already doing? And the CEO will give him one of two answers, which is one, I don't know, I guess we probably could do more, and they instantly start doing more. Or number 2 is they say, well, we can't because of this problem. And then Hormozi makes it his number 1 priority to solve that problem so that they can then do more. And that's his philosophy, uses for everything, is do more, do better, do new. First, let's do more, then we'll do better, then we'll do new. As a matter of fact, he always tries to do more and then do better, right? Do more until more stops working, then do better, then go back to doing more. The last thing he ever wants to do is do new, because it's like resetting in a game, right? You go all the way back to the beginning, whereas doing more and doing better keeps you at the same spot. So imagine this on a video game. Instead of going back to the start, you get to stay where you are. The second you do something new, you go right back to the start. So you have to redo everything you've done. Doing more and doing better while maybe you have diminishing returns. For example, I used to play Fortnite. I used to be a Fortnite pro, as a matter of fact. And in Fortnite, you level up from 1, 2, 3, etc. And I don't know what level you can get to, but you can get really high. But as you level up, it becomes harder to level up because the levels require more XP. And so in the beginning, it's really easy to level up, but then it gets harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. And it just keeps getting harder as you go. But here's the thing, is of course it seems easier to keep leveling up if you go back to the beginning, but then you just restart the entire levels again and you never actually make it to where you want to go. For example, if you want to get to level 100, right? You'll never get to level 100 if you keep restarting. And that's the equivalent of doing something new. Is yes, you'll level up faster in the beginning, right? But you'll still be stuck right at where you were before because you're going to keep giving up. And so you can take whatever game you like and just look at like the level up thing. Would it be easier for you to just stick it out, right? And I'm not saying easier, like would it actually be easier, but it makes more sense to stick it out or to make more sense to restart with a new account and try again. Imagine you're trying to complete a video game. Imagine you're playing Super Smash Bros, right? Or Mario, whatever it's called. And you're about to get to Bowser, but it's hard. And so you're like, let's just make a new account and try again with a new account with new players. Like, that seems stupid when we look at it in a video game sense, yet a lot of you do this in business. You acquired, let's say you tried drop shipping. You tried a bunch of skills, you learned drop shipping, you learned a bunch of skills, etc. Maybe you didn't make the amount of money you want. You're like, oh, damn, I'm not making the amount of money I want. I've done drop shipping for a year. Screw this. Let me go try something else. And then you go and try something else, even though you had just spent all the time acquiring all the skills, which is what you needed to learn to get here. The example I like to give is what you learn at the bottom of base camp, what you learn at the bottom of the mountain is the stuff you need to learn in order to get to the top. So the visual is what you learn on the road here is what you needed to get to the top here. The problem is most people just get really bored and eventually want to do something else, right? But that doesn't really make a lot of sense when we think about it. And so I urge you that before you ever do something new, ask yourself, can I do more? Can I do more? And if the answer is yes, do 10 times more, okay? Until more stops working, then do better, then go back to doing more, okay? Number 7, what is this? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, septo. That's not even a word. I don't know. Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept. Sept. We're speaking French now. Okay? So, number 7. Growth is stressful. Stagnation is stressful. And decline is stressful. Business is stressful. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to change anything. You need to learn to endure. Just win. And I think probably this is maybe one of my favorite lessons, which is why I saved it to the end, which is that everything is stressful, right? Like being fat is stressful, right? Like being fat sucks. So does going to the gym, right? Working a 9-to-5 job is stressful. So is being an entrepreneur, right? Like being broke is stressful. So is trying to make a lot of money. The thing is, all these things are stressful. All of them are. Literally, like entrepreneurship in and of itself is very stressful, but so is the rest of normal life. And so the question you have to ask is, where would I rather endure? Where would I rather endure my pain? Right? And so I'll repeat it once again. Growth is stressful. Growth is stressful. Okay? Growth is painful. Growth is sacrificial. Okay? Stagnation is stressful and painful and sacrificial. Decline is stressful, etc. Business is stressful, etc. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, it is normal to feel stressed. It is normal to feel anxious. It is normal to feel overwhelmed and chaotic and all of these crazy emotions that we label as not normal because we, for some reason, think that they aren't normal when they inherently are. And so this is a reminder that whatever feeling you're going through, it's normal. Like, fundamentally, for something to change, it has to grow, right? Or to grow, it has to change. Either way you look at it. And for something to change, like, you will go out of your comfort zone. So if you keep doing what you've always done, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. And so if you want to do something you've never done, if you want to get something you've never got, you got to do something you've never done, which is why it's going to be different and difficult, etc., etc., etc. And so yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will be stressful and sacrificial and not easy, right? Yada, yada, yada. But that's fine. You don't need to change anything. That's normal. You just need to learn to endure that pain. And as Hormozi always says, just win. So yeah, there are seven of my favorite business lessons from Mozi after spending a lot of time with him. Hope you enjoyed.